around here, we don't mess with the silver and black. This game, this one means something, but the kingdom already knows that. This rivalry runs deep. Endless animosity between two of the AFL's originals, battling to reign supreme. Arms race in the West. Last I checked, we got the edge.
Don't take no energy home.
And this division still runs through Kansas City.
Listen, man. Tonight is tonight.
So now's your chance to get out of our way. If not, we'll just move you ourselves.
The Chiefs bounced back in a big way last Sunday with a complete team victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was about as big a win as you can have in Week 4, and now, finally back at home, it's time for another chapter in one of the greatest rivalries in all of sports. We are 2 hours from kickoff. You waited all week for this very moment. It's finally here. It is time for football in Chiefs Kingdom. Let's do this. My name is Matt McMullen, joined by voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. This is Field Pass, presented by StorageMart. And Mitch, we can feel it already. We're hours away from kickoff, but we feel the atmosphere already. There's nothing like Chiefs and Raiders on Monday Night Football.
Since 1960, these two have tried to pulverize each other. So much history here. Just go back to the podcast, the Yes, No, and Bizarro. But to have it on Monday Night Football just adds more sauce.
Yeah, it's one of those great rivalries where every time these two teams take the field, you know it's going to be a great one. And Mitch, the Chiefs are coming into this game feeling pretty good about themselves after an absolute dominant performance over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last Sunday. And there was a mandate, I think, an importance of getting back on track immediately after that Colts loss, a very uncharacteristic Colts loss 2 weeks prior. And we certainly saw that against the Buccaneers.
And it started with the offensive line. They came out showing their fangs on the first snap, and it did not stop throughout the entire game. That's who sets the tempo. We're going to be very interested to see if Trey Smith can go tonight. If he can't, then it'll be Nick Allegretti. But the same principle applies. You've got to attack the line of scrimmage, and it starts with the offensive line.
We're going to talk all about this matchup over the next 20 minutes or so. But first, earlier this week, I had a chance to catch up with Chiefs legend Derek Johnson to talk all things Raider Week. All right, we're joined now by one of the greatest players in franchise history. It's Derek Johnson. And DJ, you had so many great memories against the Raiders during your time as a Chief. I'm just curious, what comes to mind when you think of Raider Week?
Oh man, a lot of things, a little bit of hatred, a little bit of bad blood going. But I tell you what, regardless of the record, you throw that out. I don't care if you're playing them at the beginning of the year or the end of the year. At the end of the day, you must beat the Raiders. I mean, if you're a Chief, you got to have a little hatred, a little bad blood in your system for the Raiders, because I know they have the same thing. But I tell you what, playing against the Raiders. I've had so many great memories when it comes to going to Oakland, or when it comes to them coming to us. It's always a battle. It's always a big rivalry. I tell you what, it's nothing like quietening down and silencing Raiders fan when it comes to Chiefs winning at the end of the day. So hopefully this will be a great example of it.
And you see a lot of rivalries in college football, obviously because of the history. The NFL is a little bit different. You really don't have too many hated rivalries like this one between the Chiefs and the Raiders. As a professional football player, when you first got to Kansas City, how quickly did you learn, oh, we hate these guys?
Absolutely, right off the bat. I mean, the fans will let you know. That's the big reason why I've ran into so many Chiefs fans over the years that bleed red, and they tell me, they've been, season ticket holders, more than I've been alive. So it's one of those things where they let you know, since the Willie Laniers and the Bobby Bells, Lynn Dawson's and all of them, that they have this bad blood when it comes to playing the Raiders. And it's always, I tell you, it's always a battle every single time. That's why I say throw the records out. It doesn't matter about that. It's about head-to-head comeback, and let's see who, no fair dodging at the end of the day.
I love it. And even though you're retired, you're at the game here tonight, right?
Absolutely. I got a root for my Chiefs. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're still a part of it, and that the fans still embrace you as a Chief for life.
I do want to ask you one quick question about the game here, and it has to warm your heart as a former linebacker to see that the Chiefs have allowed the fewest rushing yards in the NFL through 4 weeks. That's important here in this one against Josh Jacobs. What is the importance of stopping the run and keeping this going here, like we've seen from the Chiefs over the last several weeks?
No, don't get me wrong. I love our offense. I love what Andy's doing. I love all that stuff, Pat Mahomes and Kelsey and all this stuff. But I tell you what, nothing's better than stopping the run and actually getting turnovers and actually being a big impact in us winning game by game, week by week. And the Chiefs defense, they're really getting after the quarterback. At the end of the day, we're always up, so that helps out for us to get rushes. But we're making offenses one-dimensional because we're stopping the run, and you can't run on our defense. That's a great characteristic to have, especially early in the year. Hopefully we keep it on throughout the whole year.
Yeah, this Raiders offense has been pretty good this season. Josh Jacobs is really a big engine behind that. He had 141 rushing yards last week against the Broncos. So got to shut him down early, make this Raiders offense one-dimensional, and hopefully get out with a victory. DJ, awesome stuff, man. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, great stuff there from Derek Johnson. We're now joined by one of the best young players in all of Major League Baseball. It's Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby, what's going on, man?
Let's go. I'm excited to be here. This is incredible. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, thank you for your time. So welcome to GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. Is this your first time here?
First time here, taking it all in. This is incredible.
Yeah.
I'm so pumped.
So you grew up in the Dallas area. I'm guessing that's big-time football country for your high school. Were you a football fan growing up?
Yeah, I grew up, played till my freshman year of high school. Really, I thought I was going to go play football in college or something. I loved it, really enjoyed it, and just kind of chose a different route, and luckily it worked out. But, yeah, just really enjoying this.
It was awesome to see you drop the game-winning RBI against Cleveland on the opening day. I was there to see it. But let's get real here, Matt.
Okay.
This is the Dave Campbell Texas High School Football Yearbook, all right? This is the Bible. I got to ask you about the Colleyville Heritage Panthers. That's where you played. Max Crosby of the Steelers, of the Raiders, is one of the great defenders. He's from your high school, so I got to ask you, friend or foe?
I love the way he played the game and just kind of how he is, kind of a dog out there, and it was really cool to see him, what he's doing now. But now I just want him to stay away from Mahomes a little bit, so he needs to take it easy tonight. But, yeah, just watched him when I was coming up a little bit. I think I was a freshman when he was a senior, so it's really cool to see what he's been doing.
I mean, what a small world. That's crazy. I can't imagine, people from your high school watching this game like, what?
Yeah, it's incredible. Just the talent that he had and the guys that came out of Colleyville. It's been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Now I want to ask you about your season a little bit because you had an awesome rookie season. You're just the 5th player in Major League Baseball history, 5th rookie to have 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases. How pleased were you with the foundation you laid this season?
I think it was great. A lot of things went through failure. I think that was the biggest thing in this game. Is baseball 3 out of 10, you're a Hall of Famer, and you got to learn to deal with failure. And just throughout all that time, I think I maybe could have done more, but really I'm really satisfied with what happened this year and looking forward to keep building off and keep working hard in this offseason and get ready to get after it next year.
And Bobby, is impressive, a 5-tool player for sure. You played third and short and didn't complain about either one. It was awesome to see you a team player. But I want to ask you about that because your dad and your uncle both had really great MLB careers. How much did that help you navigate the scene? And I ask you because of Patrick, because he spent a lot of time in clubhouses with his dad playing. How much did that help you?
Oh, it's incredible how much it's helped me. And just after every game, I still call my dad, and he'll tell me the stuff I make mistakes on. He'll get on to me still from when I was probably playing when I was 7 years old to now. And so it's great to have him there as a foundation and just always wanted me to be the best player I can possibly be. So it's been great for him, and I'm sure Patrick had that same thing for him.
Yeah. And Bobby, last question for you, but I know there were some tough times this season, but you guys fought through that adversity, and I think we saw a lot of growth from the young players on the Royals, you included, guys like MJ, Brady Singer. What are your expectations for next year?
Yeah, I think that's, like I said earlier, the biggest thing was going through that failure, and because you never want to do it again. You want to work harder to just get out of that little rut, whatever it is. And so it's just kind of taking it day by day, working hard, going into the offseason, know what you need to improve on, and just get ready for next year. I think something special is going to happen for sure.
Yeah, well, we're excited.
Matt, let me just say this. I love it when baseball guys play like NFL guys. This is an NFL guy playing baseball. I love to watch him play.
Yeah.
This is a safety. He's really just a Colleyville Heritage Panther right here.
These guys out here look a little big. I don't know if I'm going to be
You could do it, man. You could run right by him. And you're on the drum tonight, right?
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I'm trying to maybe fire up these fans a little bit. I don't know. They're going to be going already,
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a blast.
Well, there's going to be like 80,000 people in here in about 2 hours, and you're in charge of getting them fired up. You feel ready for it?
Yeah, I'm more nervous than that than playing it off the across the street. I don't know. We're ready. We'll get
And
it
nobody's throwing you sliders. It's a straight-on hit, man.
Yeah,
Just
just
go
need
for
to hit
it.
it. Just need
Yeah.
to hit it.
Well, you'll crush it. We'll let you go, but thank you for your time, man.
Yes,
We
sir.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
guys.
Have a
Thanks,
great
buddy.
season next
Appreciate
year.
watching you
Really
play.
appreciate it. Thank you.
That was cool, wasn't it?
Oh, he's just so awesome to watch play. And I say that seriously. I love it when I see baseball guys play with the tenacity of NFL guys, and that's the way he is, both in the field and as a hitter. And he was asked to do a lot of things this year, right?
Yeah.
He has to play third. He's got to play short. He's hitting different spots in the order, and he didn't complain about it all. The guy's got a brilliant future, and so excited to see him grow. You feel like you're talking to Patrick Mahomes in 2017.
Yeah.
That's what this conversation felt like.
Yeah, my hope is that we'll look back on this interview 10 years from now and say, we talked to Bobby Witt Jr. on the field before the Chiefs beat the Raiders on Monday Night Football. So pretty cool. Appreciate his time. Now, let's talk about
Max
the game.
Crosby went to his high school.
I mean, what a small world,
Colleyville
right?
Heritage, baby, the Panthers.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about this game a little bit. We haven't really gotten into it. And I want to start with the Chiefs' offensive performance last week against the Bucs. I mentioned on the other side of the interview that it was a great opportunity to get back on track, right? And the offense certainly did that. And you think about who they were playing last week, it was the Buccaneers defense, the number one scoring defense in the NFL going into that game. They had allowed 27 total points all season long. The Chiefs topped that by halftime with 28 points before the second quarter was over. Kansas City scored 41 total points in that game, easily the most a Todd Bowles-led defense in Tampa had ever allowed, and it was the most Tampa had allowed at home since 2016. So before the Bucs game on Field Pass, I said, Mitch, what went wrong last week against the Colts offensively? Well, it's the inverse this week. What went right against the Buccaneers?
Well, it started with I said about the offensive line showing their fangs, but there's something with this team, and I'm kind of working on a research project here. First down efficiency. And you're going, well, wait a minute. That's not anything of revelation. It's more so depending on the opponent and the team. And the team this year, the 2022 Kansas City Chiefs, are vastly different if they can get at least 4 yards on first down or even more. And because of just the way this team is framed up right now. So tonight, what they did, think about it, against Arizona, good start, not only in the game, but on first down. The same way against Tampa Bay. To me, it's the same thing tonight. Just chart with me first down efficiency because it means a lot to this team, more than even average.
And think about the game plan last week. It was a quick passing attack. It was a screen game. It was the running game against the Buccaneers. The Chiefs rushed for 189 yards against Tampa Bay. That was the most yards the Chiefs had rushed for as a team since week 4 of last season against Philadelphia. Ironically, almost a year to the day. But as good as that Tampa pass rush is, they never really got going.
Couldn't do it. And again, if you've got some balance in the run game, they just can't tee off and go. Shaq Barrett wanted to do that. Max Crosby will want to do that tonight. But Max will also defend the run. He's got the most tackles among defensive linemen in the National Football League coming into this week. But the run game, you've got this tag team going on. It's not just Clyde and all Clyde. It's also Isaiah Pacheco. And McKinnon will step in there. That is really an asset. But if you can keep a defense off balance, it means a lot. So not just on first down, but other downs as well. And the other thing is that running backs were starting to get in sync with the offensive line, hitting it, getting up the field, not waiting and letting the defenses catch up, which is what happened in the Colt game.
And I'm glad you mentioned Max Crosby because I want to talk about this Raiders pass rush. They spent a ton of money on their pass rush this past offseason, giving Crosby that big extension and going out and signing Chandler Jones. There have been some mixed results with all that money spent. So Max Crosby has been tremendous for this Raiders defense. He has 18 pressures this year. That's number 6 in the NFL, and 4 sacks. That is 5th in the league. He's been awesome. Everything they hoped for when they gave him that extension. The rest of the pass rush has been the problem for this Raiders squad. Outside of Crosby, who has 4 sacks, they have 1 sack as a team. So even though Crosby has been really good, they have 5 sacks as a team. That's 31st in the NFL. That includes Chandler Jones, which as good as he has 8 pressures and 0 sacks so far this season. They have struggled as a group, but still, it's Chandler Jones. You got to respect this guy.
I know we're going to get to Josh Jacobs in a second. I want to tag what I said about the rushing game. If you put together Pacheco and Clyde's numbers together against Tampa Bay, you're going to equal what Josh Jacobs did last week by himself. So, again, if you've got the tag team going on, it can kind of overshadow the effectiveness. But let's go back to Max Crosby. The Raiders came into this week next to last in sacks in this league. Only Arizona had fewer. Max Crosby has 4 of the 5. The other's on a corner blitz by Nate Hobbs. But this Raiders team, think about New England here. This is really a New England flavor, both offense and defense. They are up 13% in the amount of times they blitz, and that is third most as far as an increase over last year to this year. So will they blitz tonight? Sometimes they have to create the pressure.
Now let's talk a bit about this Raiders offense. You mentioned Josh Jacobs. This Raiders offense is strange because they have funneled almost everything through 2 players. It's Josh Jacobs and Davante Adams. Just last week, those 2 guys combined to touch the football on 58% of the Raiders' offensive snaps. And overall on the year, they've combined for 48% of the Raiders' scrimmage yards. That is 2 dudes amassing about half of an NFL team's offense. So if you can slow down at least one of those guys, it goes a long way in slowing down this Raiders offense.
Starts with Josh Jacobs. Let's go back to Bobby Witt Jr. saying he played all the way up in sophomore year at college at Colleyville Heritage, or through his 9th grade year. And I'm going to give you a 9th grade answer here, tackling. Josh Jacobs last year had 57 broken tackles. That was 3rd among running backs in the National Football League. If you look, he's averaged 111 scrimmage yards over the past 7 games wrapped around to last year. Matt, he's hard to tackle. You've got to tackle him. Think about how good the Chiefs were in tackling Leonard Fournette, not only between the tackles, but outside on swing routes or on sweeps. The Chiefs have to do that tonight. If Josh Jacobs gets going downhill, look out.
And when those guys have been good this season, talking Adams and Jacobs, the Raiders have had offensive success. Just look last week, their first victory over the Denver Broncos. Adams had more than 100 receiving yards, and Jacobs, as you mentioned, 141 rushing yards. He's averaged more than 5 yards per carry in 3 of the Raiders' 4 games this year. But even though those guys are really good, they haven't been hitting big plays this season. It's been a very methodical, chip-away kind of offense. You look at the numbers here, they support that. Derek Carr is averaging just 6.74 yards per attempt this season, has only 4 passes of 25 or more yards, is 26th in the NFL. They're averaging nearly 10 plays per scoring drive, and their 10 drives of 10 or more plays are the 2nd most in the NFL. In fact, they've been in the red zone a lot this year, a lot for a team that's 1-3. Their 18 red zone trips are the 2nd most in the NFL, behind only the Kansas City Chiefs with 19 red zone drives. The big difference, the Chiefs have 14 touchdowns on those 19 red zone drives. The Raiders have just 8 touchdowns on their 18 red zone possessions. Red zone offense has been a major problem for this Raiders offense.
But let me give Josh McDaniels some credit here in the fact that I think he's reduced the Raiders in 2022, at least right now, to the lowest common denominator. You mentioned the percentage of touches. Last week I saw something against the Broncos I don't think I've ever seen in 29 years in this league, and that is of their 59 advancements, rushes plus completions, 44 came from either Josh Jacobs or Davante Adams, and that's not counting Carr. Derek Carr ran 7 times. So the fact that they won a drive, which averages the 9.7 per drive, is by design. They want to reduce it down and reduce the game. But if you're going to play that way, you've got to be good in the red zone. They're 3 of 15 on 3rd or 4th down in the red zone. So to eat up time and not score does you no good. They do have the best field goal kicker in the league in Daniel Carlson, but they need 7s and not 3s. The Chiefs, as you mentioned, not only in the red zone, the Chiefs are number 1 in the NFL in scoring efficiency. They score 50% of the time they have the ball, 15 touchdowns and 6 field goals. That's 21 of 42 possessions.
I feel like our show is flying by tonight. We have the inactives already, so let's jump into the inactives here. For the Chiefs, the guys that we were watching, we knew about one already. Kicker Harrison Butker, he's not going to play here in tonight's game with that ankle injury. He is out. We knew about that on Saturday. So Matthew Wright, another game for him. Some names we were watching, though. Offensive guard Trey Smith with a pectoral muscle. He was questionable coming into this game. He is inactive in tonight's game. So Trey Smith inactive with a pectoral injury. Nick Allegretti, as you mentioned earlier, presumably will be the guy to fill his role. Also, Mike Dana at defensive end. He has that calf injury that's kept him out since week 3. Let's see, he is also inactive. So Mike Dana is inactive in this game. There is some good news. Juju Smith-Schuster at wide receiver had that hamstring injury, popped up on the injury report on Saturday. That's never good, but I do not see him on here. So Juju Smith-Schuster is active tonight for the Chiefs. So Juju is active, Trey Smith, Butker, and Mike Dana all inactive.
But Nick Allegretti started 9 games in his career in the regular season. The Chiefs are 9-0 in those 9 games. Now, he played left guard, but Nick's going to right guard in this game. And he was 2-1 in the playoffs in 2020. The only game he's ever started and lost was Super Bowl 55. But the question here is, Matt, think among the obvious here if you're following us, and that is, what do the Chiefs do when they go big? He's been the 6th man. The Chiefs will go tackle over tackle. So tonight, what will the Chiefs do when they want to go to 6 offensive linemen or get big on short yardage or even near the goal line?
Now looking at the Raiders inactive, there's one kind of big one that we kind of knew already coming in, but still, it's linebacker Jayon Brown. He is out with a hamstring injury. He's played a lot this season, 2 starts, I believe, and he's a big part of that depth at the second level of this Raiders defense. So I'll ask you about Jayon Brown here in a moment. But corner Sam Webb from just up the road at Missouri Western, he's a rookie corner for them. Only played him 1 game. He was coming in questionable with a hamstring injury. I do not see him on here. So Sam Webb is active.
Number 27, he's going to play it. Okay.
Yep, he's active. And then the other one that was questionable was tight end Foster Moreau. Pretty solid player, always seems to make plays for the Raiders, even though his stats don't really tell that story. He was questionable coming in with a knee injury, didn't play last week, and he is not going to play this week, it looks like. Foster Moreau is inactive with that knee injury. One guy we haven't talked about, wasn't on the injury report all week, but it's Hunter Renfrow. Had the concussion that kept him out of 2 games. They do get Hunter Renfrow back tonight.
Yeah, and last year he had a gigantic year under a different scheme, but remember, he had one of the biggest plays in there right around the take the bus around the stadium game 2 years ago, and that was that 42-yarder on 3rd down and long that you and I talked about. You talked about on the podcast. But let's go back to Sam Webb. Sam's going to try to play tonight for the Raiders. A corner out of Excelsior Springs, Missouri. Less than an hour from the stadium, played for the Tigers and the Missouri Western Griffins. He will be out there tonight for the Raiders wearing number 27. It'll be interesting to see another hometown guy play against the Chiefs.
Now we'll close our show with this, everybody. We have dominated these divisional games, dominated the series against the Raiders. The Chiefs are 42-13 against the AFC West since 2013. That is ridiculous. That's the best mark for any team against their own division in that span. The Chiefs are 21-4 since 2018, also the best mark in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is 22-3 against the AFC West with 52 touchdown passes in his career. We've dominated these games, and it's truly no accident. It's not as simple as we're the better team every single time. We are working and preparing for these games way back in May.
You've got to be urgent here in this game. Don't go to sleep on the Raiders, but Derek Carr is 3-13 against the Chiefs in his career. That is the worst any quarterback against any opponent in this league since 2014. But you got to keep the nightmares going for Derek Carr. He's a tough kid. He'll fight, but we saw what he could do in 2020, but you got to make this a nightmare evening for him.
Yeah, you can't sleep on these guys, even though they're 1-3. They have been in every game they have played. But if the Chiefs play in all 3 phases like they did last week, I certainly like their chances. For Mitch Holthus, I'm Matt McMullen. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Let's go get a victory.